ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 867, an ordinance adopting the Master Street Plan map and description for the city of Maumelle, Arkansas, and for other purposes. It's one of those nights.
Okay. Alderman Lewis.
All right. This proposal has generated some interesting conversation. I think it started about a year ago at least, and it's really been going on for quite some time. If you speak to Mr. Wright or Mr. Wilson, they will tell you that they have, for some time now, been trying to secure the city's intent as it relates to Carnahan Drive. At one time, we even, I'm told, had it off of the Master Street Plan, and then it reappeared. We had a right-of-way that we had signed with those developers that expired. And so not only are they sort of waiting, I think, to see what the city's intent is and what our plans are, you also have a resident which we heard from in the Snyders that came here and indicated that that current plan goes right over their driveway. You also have, as it's currently drawn, a 4-lane divided arterial road, which is to serve for industrial traffic, going right through Country Club of Arkansas. I think that's made a lot of people there nervous. So here we are, we've got a plan that's about 15 years old, and it was almost really drafted in a time when Maumelle was still under the guise that everything on one side of the boulevard would remain industrial, and then everything on the opposite side would remain residential. Well, obviously, with the growth of Country Club of Arkansas, that era has gone. And so I think we are overdue to, reassess this situation. Now, as soon as this came about, the question came back, well, are we just going to leave Carnahan as a dead end right now? And I think that as we are going to vote on it during our next meeting, yes, we will. But we don't want to make a decision that is a right decision, which is to relieve the anxiety in CCFA, open up the avenues of possibilities for some of the developers that want to get on with some of their investments, and then lastly, get a street off of somebody's driveway. So I am all for passage of this at our next meeting. However, knowing that we cannot continue to turn a blind eye to the fact that we have almost 2,000 people with our Maumelle Middle School and High School at the end of a dead-end road in the industrial park, something else has to present itself. So I'm pleased to say that discussions have been underway with Holloway Engineering, and they have been in consultation with MetroPlan and have already developed an additional draft. Everyone is welcome to a copy of this. I brought some for all of the aldermen. This will take Carnahan in a direction toward Marche, and hopefully, as we go along through this process, I think that we will back down on some of the grandeur of what we had in mind before. Instead of a 4-lane divided road, which is going to cause a significant impact on wherever it goes and is going to take a lot of investment, I think we need to think in terms of incrementally in steps. Maybe a 2-lane road that gets us out in that direction. You will provide, I think, a better scenario for emergencies for the high school and middle school. You will open up access to Marche, allowing residents of Oak Grove and in that area to get to the high school more conveniently. And then lastly, you will be providing a road out there that allows the buses to arrive from the bus barn out in Oak Grove to the high school and middle school, thereby taking some of that relief off of the boulevard. So I think there's a lot of merits to be had there. One thing that I would be cautious of, and this is something, about a year ago that I brought up, why aren't we discussing Carnahan more? We seem like through all the bond projects we've had, we've sort of pushed this one to the side. And the answer that I always got was two different things. One was cost, and the other was wetland impact. I really take issue with both of those. In terms of cost, yes, if you did and there's a plan that was discussed in an engineering report back in July when the mayor had a meeting with Lighthouse Engineering. If you do a bridge as a 4-lane divided road across the White Oak Bayou, you're looking at about $10.5 million just for that bridge. So indeed, that's an investment which is very lofty. However, if you looked at doing a causeway, the cost went all the way down to $1.4 million, something that I think is far more, we're far more capable of taking a bite out of. However, there's greater wetland impact. What will the EPA allow us to do? It's quite simply, there is a process anytime you want to go into construction through a wetland area. The Section 404 permit with the Corps of Engineers is a process that throughout many parts of this country municipalities, state agencies have developed roads in order to get from A to B. That's what we would be doing here. Even with that causeway, we're talking about mitigating around 26, 28 acres, somewhere in there. That's a doable thing. But you got to want to do it. And I refuse to accept the premise that the EPA is an obstacle that keeps us from doing the things that we need to do to grow this community, the things that we need to do to provide safety for the students that we have in that area. So, yes, let's back away from this plan, but let's be proactive to look at something that opens up safety for our students and also opens up the way for future possibilities with annexation. There are 2 routes in Marche that get you to Highway 365. There are 2 interstate crossings, one underpass, one overpass in that area. Let's start thinking forward. Let's have this draft come back before us after it goes through the Planning Commission, and let's start really seriously thinking about funding for something that I think would serve our community very well. Thank you.
Mr. Neri, would you like to comment on that? Did Ms.
All about safety, all about school children evacuation routes. How can you not be? I will say this, and I don't want to say too much at this point. The EPA does have veto power over the Corps of Engineers. So what permitting could be done by the Corps or might be done could be vetoed by the EPA. Now, would they? I don't know. I do know that the White Oak Bayou watershed is one of their biggest ecological concerns in central Arkansas, and it has been for a while. But I also think that there's a way to accomplish most anything that you want to accomplish. And I would agree that the safety of the kids of Maumelle and the kids that go to the high school and middle school who are not from here even, and the growth of the city and further expansion is extremely important. I always believe there's an alternative. Maybe we just haven't found it yet, but we can keep trying.
Okay. Thank you.
The tunnel blew you, did it?
If we made this change, would we have to kick it back to the Planning Commission?
Yes, you would, if you made it now.
And
Yeah,
that's
that would be a better idea.
That's not what I'm suggesting, is that we make this change now. Let's hold off. Let's approve this plan that we have before us, but know that this is the next thing to come down the pike. And, you know, based on how long it takes to go through the Planning Commission, I think we could expect to see it around the first of the year.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Very good plan.